I have had the fortune and good fortune of having created many brands in India. Wonderchef is not the first. When I was very young, I joined a company in France at the age of 24 and convinced them to come to India with me. They did not believe. They told me India is a jungle. This was 1994. India was a jungle in some sense in those days. And they said, nothing will work in India. What are you talking about? And that brand, that company was Sodexo. It became a name which was popular in every single corporate over the next few years. And over the next 12 years, from 94 till 2006, I created 5 different businesses of Sodexo in India. Everybody probably knows about the meal voucher or the meal coupon or the meal card. But probably if very few people know that Sodexo is the largest food services company in India. Does anybody know that? Catering company? Yeah? Good to know that. I was the first employee in India, running around alone for more than 2 years. And today, there are 145,000 employees in India. 1,45,000 लोग Sodexo के लिए इंडिया में काम करते हैं. And then one day, around the year 99, 3-4 साल हमें हो गए थे launch किए हुए. In such a function, I was sitting in the audience and I was called upon the stage and I was given the award for one of India's best brand builders. And it really surprised me. I said, brand? Well, हम तो services company हैं. Brand कैसे? Because in our mind, in those days, brand used to be कि Lux या Dove एक brand है, Coca-Cola एक brand है, Marlboro cigarettes एक brand है, but हम services में कैसे brand होती है? And then over the years we learned that no, anything can be branded. Here on this screen we see Shiprocket is a brand today. DHL is a brand. So thinking has evolved. I want to ask all of you, how many of you work with a brand, are brand builders, brand managers? Can I see that? A lot of you. Lovely. Good to know that. So I hope the next 30 minutes that I'll be speaking will be useful to you. And that is a very simple thought process, but very practical, very pragmatic. And you would think that ये तो मैंने भी सोचा था. This is the problem I also have. And how do I tackle this? So I hope to give you some answers, but more importantly, I hope to raise some relevant questions in your mind as you traverse this journey, which is a transition from offline to online, and now the reverse has also started. Online brands want to expand offline. What are the challenges? What are the things to be kept in mind? And what it means to build a brand beyond just spending money and marketing? What are the relevant issues, matrices, challenges, cautionary red flags that one must be careful about? So let's go for it. So first of all, a question for all of you. What is a brand? Not a trick question. Any answer is right, no answer is wrong. What is a brand? Anybody? Identity. Great answer. What else? Service? Okay. Reflection. All right. Recall value. Okay. Trust. The word I was looking for. Thank you. What else? Quality, absolutely, it's a given. Great. I think great answers, yeah? Resonance, yeah? Yes, identity, trust, credibility, recognition, top of mind, right? Okay. Where does it exist? Everybody knows that. We all read our Kotlers and Druckers. Very good. The brand exists in the mind of the consumer. So, just around these two simple questions, we come to the next issue. It's not just enough to exist. It's important to exist at the right time. Because Wonderchef, the company now I have created, is a kitchen appliances company. When you buy our products, they are supposed to last for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on the kind of product. So when a product has completed its life cycle, you want to buy a new one. More importantly, if you are using something else, I want you to consider Wonderchef next time you want to buy a mixer or a grinder or a cooktop or a chimney or a cookware or OTG or microwave or anything. So which means I should appear in your mind when you need it. And for that, I need to keep creating something called brand equity. वो एक दिन में नहीं बनती. All of you as brand managers, as brand owners, as brand promoters, as brand leaders must remember कि brand equity एक दिन में नहीं बनती. This is something that we need to continue to develop, continue to strengthen all the time, because you don't know and you cannot predict when the consumer might want to think of you. And second, and even more importantly, the brand should be available when required. You agree? और मैं खास इस मीटिंग में ये बोल रहा हूं because I have seen, I am a mentor to a lot of D2C brands. I have invested in a lot of D2C brands. And easy money, which is available now, makes people think, पैसा खर्चो, परफॉर्मेंस मार्केटिंग करो, अमेज़न पे SEO करो, ब्रांड बननी चाहिए. But availability, distribution is not the first thing people think of. And this is clearly a red flag. It's extremely important that when we invest in building brand equity, we are at the same time investing in distribution. And vice versa. If we invest only in distribution, but not in brand equity, what will happen? Sorry? Yeah. So which means we are eating out of the same pot and not replenishing it. We are shaving off our brand equity step by step. Not advisable. So both have to go hand in hand. Building brand equity in the offline space and in the online space, the end objective is the same, but the process is a bit different. And let's explore that process. So in the offline space, which means non-digital, traditional retail markets, what is the most obvious way of building brand? ATL, right? सबसे पहले वो दिमाग में आता है एडवर्टाइजिंग करो, टीवी पे आ जाओ, टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया के पहले पन्ने पे आ जाओ, ब्रांड बन जाएगा. ATL. The flip side, it's extremely expensive. When we talk about online, the equivalent of ATL is what we called tofu. प्रोटीन से भरा हुआ, वेजिटेरियन, टेस्टी. What is tofu? Top of the funnel, yes. So the equivalent of ATL is top of the funnel. You have to be able to reach as many people, relevant potential customers in the most efficient, effective, and cheapest way possible to be able to talk about your brand. Then comes BTL, below the line marketing. And I consider that your ratings and reviews on your own website, on Amazon and other platforms is equivalent to your BTL, which is like your collaterals, which is like your posters and standees and danglers in a shop. And it's important कि हमने ATL तो कर दिया, लेकिन हम shop पे भी मेहनत से काम करें. Otherwise, moment of truth, when it comes, conversion will not be there. आपने ब्रांड बनाई लेकिन धंधा किसी और को मिल जाएगा, because when you go to the shop, poster किसी और का लगा हुआ है. So similarly, ratings, reviews are extremely critical. And the last, and probably very important, and the most important in offline space is P2P, which is person to person. Because in offline space, that all important person who is influencing your sale is your dealer or your promoter, right? And what is the equivalent of that in the online space? Because you can't talk to the people, right? But people who are interested, what can you do for them? You can remarket for them. So to keep a balance between top of the line or top of the funnel, rating reviews and remarketing investments, it's very critical. And very often we don't balance all these three. The other very important thing is product discovery. Okay, we have spent money in the brand, but when I need something, how do I get to know about your product? Well, today, the line between offline and online as far as product discovery is concerned is blurring. And you will all agree, and for all your brands, it's very difficult to predict how many people will see your brand online, they will search for it online, but they will ultimately go and buy offline. And why do they do that? My question to you, why do they do that? Absolutely, one is touch and feel. What else? Sorry? Immediacy. Yes, कि मुझे चाहिए और दुकान पे जाके अभी ले लिया, अमेज़न से तो 12 घंटे बाद आएगा, एक दिन बाद आएगा, शायद 2-4 दिन बाद आएगा ब्रांड के साथ. Trust, absolutely. Because when you are buying online, you are still talking to a faceless person. When you go to a dealer, वो बोलता है मैडम मैं खड़ा हूँ ना यहाँ पे, आप चिंता मत करना. And at times, you go to your trusted dealer with whom you have been buying different things, probably your mom also used to buy, and he will say, मैम आपके लिए 50 रुपया ऑफ. होता है ना ऐसा? So, offline space has also learned how to survive the onslaught of online, and which is why they continue to hold a substantial portion of sales, not only in India, even in USA. Many of you would know that even in US, 80%, 4/5 of the sales are still offline. Though every large company, not only Amazon, but including companies like Williams-Sonoma's or Walmart or Beth Bath, Beyond, even all of them have very thriving websites. Substantial portion of their own businesses also come from their websites. And yet, offline is 80% of the sale. So we cannot write that off. Also, equally importantly, what happens is that people experience the product offline. They see it in a shop, but they end up buying online. Of course, online पे prices कई बारी बहुत अच्छे मिल जाते हैं, or it's also very convenient, credit card payments, etc., etc. Which means the line is blurring, and we are increasingly living in a phygital space, physical plus digital space. So what are the challenges here? When we go offline, the biggest challenge is, especially as a new brand, fighting for that shelf space. नई ब्रांड को कोई डीलर रखना ही नहीं चाहता, कोई डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर उसमें पैसा ही नहीं लगाना चाहता है. सबने एक्सपीरियंस किया ये? दिस इज द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज. क्योंकि अगर वो रख लेंगे तो आप सभी चैंपियन हो जाएंगे, फिर लीवर्स और आईटीसी और एशियन पेंट्स को कौन पूछेगा? So the large incumbents also ensure that you are not able to enter the shops where they are present. They will twist arms, they will turn everything. Which is why online is a great blessing for new brands, but there the challenge is to cut the clutter. Please try to understand this. If you get shelf space through some hard work, you are bound to get sales. Because in a particular shop, once a dealer has invested money in your product, he will push it. He will want it to move. And a shop, at best, a typical retail shop in India, will be keeping anywhere between 500 to 2,000 SKUs. But when you are present online, you are trying to cut the clutter with millions of products. Sounds very nice, मैंने Amazon पे list कर दिया. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced कि Amazon पे list तो कर दिया, अभी धंधा नहीं आ रहा है. या the ACOS is more than 100%, ROI is negative, right? Happens because we need to cut the clutter. So we need to balance these two. However, what online does is that it provides you distribution instantaneously. Half my career was over, probably 2/3 was over by the time online revolution started. And I used to dream of a time in India when, like US, if you have a good product market fit, you can place the product in a Walmart and be present in 6,000 outlets. You can place a product in Costco and be present in 4,000 outlets, and so on and so forth. But in India, there was no such possibility. At best, you could go to a big bazaar which will place you in 200 outlets. There was no comparison. So you have to keep fighting, investing, building teams, going from dealer to dealer, हाथ जोड़ के कि भैया रख ले, right? So online at least provides distribution instantaneously and levels the distribution gap. You have to still cut the clutter. The decision-making process is, of course, very different. In the offline space, it is the intermediary who is the most important person. It's not your own salesman, it's not your distributor, it is that dealer, it's that counter person, it's that promoter who can influence. वो मेरी चीज़ छोड़ के फिलिप्स बिकवा सकता है, प्रेस्टीज बिकवा सकता है, बजाज बिकवा सकता है, या उन सबको छोड़ के वंडरशेफ बिकवा सकता है, अगर वो rightly motivated हो, rightly trained हो. But in the online space, we don't have that luxury. There is nobody pushing your product directly. So we have to make do with knowledge, content, social media marketing, and reaching out to people through performance marketing. Listening to consumers. Every brand manager knows that listening to consumers is the most important thing to get feedback on your product, to develop new product, to create a product pipeline, to differentiate from the competitors. The processes are different. In the offline space, there was the traditional way of engaging market research agencies and investing in them and talking to thousands of consumers, qualitative, quantitative questionnaires, and then analyzing them. But the online space gives you the opportunity to talk to the consumers directly, right? So listening to consumers is extremely important, and one must do differently in both the spaces. When we talk about marketing, a very essential component of brand building, we know that in the offline space, what we do is predictive marketing. Why is it predictive? Because we don't know. We cannot react. We have to commit a certain budget to a campaign based on past performance. पिछले साल हमने 5 करोड़ रुपया खर्चा, हमारा धंधा 3% ऊपर गया. इन मीडियाज में खर्चा यहाँ पे गया, ये हमने लोकेशन सुनी, यहाँ पे बेटर हुआ. That is prediction. I am trying to predict what might happen and I have to underwrite a budget. चलो लास्ट ईयर 5 करोड़ खर्चा था, इस साल 7 करोड़ खर्चते हैं, या 25 खर्चा था, इस साल 30 करोड़ खर्चते हैं. कैंपेन एक बारी छूट गया तो it's like the arrow has left the bow, it does not come back, money is spent, we don't know whether it will give results or not. Of course, the best brand manager is who can kind of guarantee year after year कि when they launch a campaign, उनका result आता है. There is good ROI. Digital media, of course, provides us the opportunity of reactive marketing. You can do campaigns, you can do A/B testing, you can do all kinds of measurements and adjust your ad almost on a daily basis. Why are both important? Because today, no brand can exist in isolation. If you want to scale up, if you want the funding to flow, if you want to go to an IPO one day or being bought out at a great value by a strategic investor, you have to scale up, and brands cannot scale up only in the digital space, and they cannot scale up only in the physical space. They have to combine together. So learning of all these aspects is very important. And this is my favorite topic, margin structures. This is very, very critical. I would like to know from you, why are margins important? And why are they different in the two channels? And how are they different? Yeah. Yeah, very important. Let the mic come to you, please. Quickly run. Yeah.
Hi, one is commission, like I said, like platforms like Amazon and all, they have a slightly higher commission plus extra charges like delivery and keeping the space, I forgot the word, the shelf space if you want to keep your product.
Sure.
And plus extra costs like marketing.
Okay.
So that requires a margin. That is different from B2B or direct retail selling. In that case, I think all the margin you give is a slightly profit margin that you keep for yourself and keeping that basic.
Okay, good. I'll give a perspective on this. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, margin structures are extremely critical because that defines your gross margin, right? So it's very simple. The selling price minus the margins that you give to your distribution channel, whether in offline or online, less GST is your gross margin, right? Minus the product cost, of course. So the margin that you're paying out will define ultimately your gross margins, your contribution, your profitability. So thank you for your input, but I would reverse the argument. Actually speaking, margins in the online space are lower than in the offline space. Marketing costs may be higher, but that's not margin. That is your branding cost. The margin structure in an Amazon, for example, I'll give you an average. Of course, different product categories have different margin structures, but on an average, Amazon charges about 20% margin. Okay, it's not super high. 100 रुपये में चीज़ बिकती है, अमेजन 20 रुपये रखेगा, 80 रुपये आपको दे देगा, टैक्स कट के बाकी आपके पास आ जाएगा. 18% टैक्स है, तो मोर और लेस 68 रुपीज़ आपके पास आ जाएगा. 20%, which includes their listing and their delivery. It does not include the marketing that you will spend on Amazon. But in the offline space, in the retail space, for a similar category, it is almost impossible to be able to do business below 30% distribution margin. क्योंकि उसमें आपको डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को भी देना है और डीलर को भी देना है. किसी प्रोडक्ट कैटेगरी में स्टॉकिस्ट या सुपर स्टॉकिस्ट या सुपर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को भी देना होता है. So typically it's a multi-level channel. Shelf space is expensive. Amazon को आपकी प्रोडक्ट लिस्ट करने में कोई खर्चा नहीं हो रहा. प्लेटफॉर्म बना हुआ है. There is no opportunity cost. For a dealer to put your product instead of something else is an opportunity cost. So which is why the margin structures are higher in offline channels. Now, why am I elaborating and deliberating a little bit on the margin structure? Because all of us who are dreaming to go online if we are an offline brand or dreaming to go offline if we are an online brand, this is the major stumbling block that we will face. कैसे? वो मैं आपको बताता हूँ, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. हर ब्रांड इस जर्नी से जाती है. सो लेट्स से आपने ऑनलाइन में ब्रांड बना लिया, सस्ते में धंधा हो रहा है, 20% मार्जिन दिया अमेजन को, मिंत्रा को, फ्लिपकार्ट को, ब्लिंकिट को, किसी को भी 20% पे काम हो जाता है, आदत खराब हो जाती है, प्राइसिंग स्ट्रक्चर उसके हिसाब से हो जाता है कि 100 रुपये में हम बेच रहे हैं चीज़, एंड नाउ यू वांट टू ड्रीम बिग एंड यू से कि मेरी तो प्रोडक्ट बिक रही है, धंधा हो रहा है, चलो अब हम रिटेल में जाएंगे। तो रिटेल में जाएंगे तो सब पहले आपका प्राइसिंग स्ट्रक्चर बिगड़ जाएगा, क्योंकि ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आप 20% मार्जिन देके बहुत बड़ा मार्जिन कमा रहे हैं, बिकॉज यू हैव टू बी competitive also, right? Every category is competitive today. So the moment you go in retail, you will be hit by this extra 10 to 15% cost, which is additional, और that is the moment of truth कि भाई अब ये तो नहीं चलेगा, अब क्या करें, वहाँ पे प्राइसेस बढ़ा नहीं सकते हैं, बिकॉज रिटेलर बोलेगा कि अमेजन पे सस्ता बेच रहे हो, वहाँ 100 रुपये बेच रहे हो, हम क्यों 120 में बेचेंगे आपका माल, और ऑनलाइन में अगर बढ़ा दिया प्राइस तो सेल बंद हो जाएगी। So this is a huge challenge, and this is the biggest challenge that any established brand in one channel faces in going in the other channel, and vice versa. अगर आप सोच रहे होंगे कि भाई ऑनलाइन में हम ज़्यादा पे बेच रहे थे, ऑनलाइन में सस्ता बेच लेंगे, ऑफलाइन में ज़्यादा पे बेच रहे थे, वो भी नहीं होता है, बिकॉज when you go to online, competition will be higher at a lower price point, and if you reduce the price point, again your dealer network, distribution network will be complaining. So one has to be very, very careful about it. In our case, what we did, I can tell you, is that right from the beginning, even before we had our own website or Amazon had started dealing in our category, I knew it is coming. So for every single product that we launched, we did a balance that हमें तो same price पे बेचना है. You cannot sell at different prices. So we should price it at a point where we are attractive to both the channels. Yes, we may be slightly more expensive online, so be it. We may be slightly cheaper in offline, so be it. We will balance, we will earn slightly higher margin from here, slightly lower from here, but we are able to keep the same price across channels, and that is a key success factor for us. We have about 40% sales online, about 60% offline, which I consider to be a very, very healthy balance. So margin structures, I can speak for the entire day. One answer to that is DMDC. DMDC सबको मालूम है क्या होता है? Anybody? सुना होगा यार, इतने लोग ऑनलाइन पे धंधा कर रहे हैं. डिफरेंट मॉडल, डिफरेंट चैनल. डिफरेंट मॉडल, डिफरेंट चैनल. सैमसंग की वॉशिंग मशीन ABCD मॉडल will be available online and EFGH model will be available offline. Exactly same होगी, सिर्फ मॉडल नंबर अलग कर दिया. डिफरेंट मॉडल, डिफरेंट चैनल. जब डीलर कंप्लेन करता है वहाँ सस्ता बेचो, नहीं सर वो मॉडल अलग है, देखिए उसका मॉडल नंबर अलग है. So that is DMDC, and that is a little trick I am sharing with you. Most of the brands have done that to be able to balance the reality, the ego, the demands of different channel partners. Sounds nice, but there is a challenge with that. The challenge with that, I'll come to that after this. Teams and overhead costs, they are very different in both the channels. Of course, in online channel, everyone knows a few people can sit in a small office and build the brand. If you want to go offline, you need feet on street. You need to be there at the dealer outlet. You need vice president, you need zonal managers, you need area sales managers or state managers, you need sales officers, you need ISPs, which is in-shop promoters, the whole 9 yards. And then only you are able to build a brand in retail. But once you make in retail, it's kind of permanent. So worth investing there step by step. Yeah, so DMDC sounds like a great solution, right? Different model, different channels, सिर्फ ठप्पा अलग लगाया और दोनों चैनल पे बेच रहे हैं. प्रॉब्लम वर्किंग कैपिटल में आती है, क्योंकि कोई भी चीज़ आप बनाते हैं, MOQs उसके होते हैं, you need to keep certain quantities, you need it to be available everywhere. So the moment you duplicate a model means you are investing double in the inventory, right? And working capital is always in short supply. Most startups die because of lack of working capital, not because of lack of profitability, right? And ROI, or return on capital invested, is the most important metric when it comes to valuation being done. This is again a secret that the investors will not tell you. They will only talk about your brand and saliency and profitability and EBITDAs, because this is a secret they keep to themselves. Actually, they are calculating your ROIC, that every extra dollar that they invest in your brand, how much extra margin does it create, not how much extra sale, how much extra margin and how much extra PAT your brand creates with every extra dollar of investment. That is what they're looking for, and that's their trade secret. And if you invest too much in working capital, ROIC suffers, given the same margin. So one has to be very careful. There are no straight answers. One has to trade a fine line while creating a brand. There is difference in type of competition. Of course, in offline space, in retail shops, you will find incumbents which are large, which are mega brands. They are already sitting tight with large teams and huge pull and advertising expenses year after year. In the online, there's a different kind of a challenge. You will find very nimble people, very sharp people like you who are playing the game, who are competing, who are launching new products every day and just turn on a dime and are able to create new challenges every day for you. So it's always interesting. Returns management is another thing. We probably all know that in the offline space, in the retail space, returns are few and far between. If a product goes bad, then somebody may return. But in the online space, Amazon ने सबकी आदत बिगाड़ दी है दुनिया भर में. No questions asked, return, right? So all of you would be aware that Amazon से depending on the category, again fashion में ज़्यादा होता है, durables में थोड़ा कम होता है, but 10 से 15% return तो guaranteed है, वो सीधे RTV कर देते हैं. फिर आप उसका क्या करो, उस पर scratch लग गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, you cannot sell. It's a huge hidden cost, and a lot of times people hit this reality check when an investor comes in and says inventory का पूरा audit करना है, and then you say अच्छा ये 2 करोड़ की inventory पड़ी हुई है, ये तो move ही नहीं कर रही है, अब इसका क्या करें? So that has to be written off and your valuation tanks. Similarly, when you are a D2C brand, your returns percentage can even be higher. For our category, for example, from Amazon we get about 10% return, but from our D2C sales, especially the COD one, we get almost 25% return, right? यही सबका experience होगा कि जो COD is a necessary evil, रखना भी पड़ता है cash on delivery, लेकिन returns ज़्यादा होता है. So I'm just raising these questions and red flags, and some of you are taking notes. I'm very happy to see that, because you can go over them and think कि ये सारे topics को हम कैसे balance करके आगे चलें. Performance metrics, of course, in the offline space, we talk about sales per employee, sales per square foot, same store sales growth. ये सारे metrics आपने सुने होंगे. जबकि online space में we talk about advertising cost of sales, which is ACOS, return on investment ROI, lifetime value of the customer. Both are important. जैसा मैंने कहा, आपको digital space में जीना है आगे चल के. You cannot be only one. So आपको सारे metrics ध्यान में रखने हैं अपनी brand के लिए, offline वाले भी और online वाले भी. Premium versus value. It's always a very interesting discussion कि आपकी brand कहाँ lie करती है. Are you a premium brand? Are you a value brand? Right? और कौन से space में वो बनाना ज़्यादा आसान है? Offline में retail में value ज़्यादा चलती है या premium ज़्यादा चलती है, या online में premium ज़्यादा बेचना आसान है, value? One answer is simple: value बेचना आसान है हर जगह. But it is a race to the bottom. सब डूब जाएंगे, right? So you have to think about your brand कि आप कहाँ लाई करते हो, कहाँ differentiate करते हो, और फिर online versus online की जो strategies होती हैं वो अलग होती हैं. And lastly, whatever I have said over the last half an hour is on one side. You can throw it away out of the window. Because the big elephant in the room is QCOM, which does not follow any rule of e-commerce. उसमें कंटेंट नहीं होता लंबा चौड़ा. कभी देखा ज़ेप्टो पे 3-4 पेज का कंटेंट, फोटोज हैं, एक फोटो देख के ले लेते हैं, राइट? रिटर्न्स ज़ेप्टो पे करते हो? रिटर्न यूज करके रिटर्न कर दिया अमेजन की तरह. सब बोलते हैं अमेजन इसलिए चलता है बिकॉज रिटर्न करना आसान है. कभी ब्लिंकिट पे रिटर्न किया किसी ने? राइट? सो this is a revolution which is not coming, it has already come. And I know a lot of you realize it. I can see heads being nodded, right? And why is it a revolution? Because it is not just Amazon against Flipkart, against Myntra, against something else. Quick commerce is impacting the business of online players, but even more importantly, it is impacting the business of shops. बिकॉज किसी ने कहा शॉप से हम इसलिए ले लेते हैं बिकॉज इमीडिएसी होती है, जल्दी से डिलीवरी सामने सामने मिल जाती है। ज़ेप्टो से तो घर बैठे 10 मिनट में मिल जाती है। वो आपको सारी वो चीज़ें बेच रहा है जो आपका किराना वाला बेचता है। एंड यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड टू नो, some of you may already be working with them, that they have also started selling consumer durables. We don't sell FMCG, we sell durables. Today, 30% of our online business comes from quick commerce. Today, you can get our NutriBlend, which is our most iconic product, within 10 minutes anywhere in India through a Blinkit or a Zepto or a Big Basket or an Instamart, right? I had not thought it would be possible, but those guys are super smart. They know there's a lot more money to be made in durables because the AOV, the average order value, is higher and the main cost is delivery cost. So the percentage of delivery cost versus the AOV is lower, and hence they are going into durables. And we are selling products worth 5,000, 10,000 rupees also on quick commerce. And that is hitting my dealers, my shops, even more than Amazon or Flipkart. So that is really something to think about. I don't have the answers. Probably sometime next time we meet, I'll have more insight on quick commerce. So thank you very much for your patience, and loved speaking to you.